freedom or death. We got to fight the powers that be. Fight the power. Fight the power. Fight the power.
Buffalo soldier, dread like a rasta. It was a buffalo soldier in the heart of America, stolen from Africa, brought to America, fighting an arrival, fighting for survival. I mean it when I analyze the stench.
You are listening to the Black Tech here on KBLA Talk 1580. I am your host, Adrianne Shropshire, and I'm so excited to be joined in studio. I had like 2 weeks in a row of in-studio guests, and so I am joined by my friend, Maya Wiley. He was the president and CEO of the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights. Yay! I've had maybe 4 or 5 guests in studio, so it's a big deal.
Well, it's a big month for you.
It's a big deal to have the in-studio guest, so I appreciate you being here. I know that you're here for, I've been saying that, Juneteenth is, we're on day 2 of Juneteenth. Tomorrow's day 3. Sunday will be day 4 of Juneteenth, and then Andy says that we're going all the way to the end of the month.
Okay.
And we need it. I think we need Juneteenth.
We need
every day.
Juneteenth century.
We need Juneteenth century. But you are here to as the speaker for tomorrow at the Empowerment Congress. It's going to be taking place at the Beehive. And I was reading an article about the Empowerment Congress the other day from 1994, where I was quoted because I apparently was leading a workshop.
Well, you have always been leading a workshop somewhere at some point.
Apparently for decades.
And those of us who know you and love you know that you've been doing that for decades. And that's why you are unapologetically progressive.
And they have been. So I have a lot of things that I want to talk to you about, and we could literally spend 2 hours, partly because every 3 months or so, we say, hey, can we get together? And then the list just grows of all the things that we need to talk about. But I do want to start by talking about, I said this to you right before we started. I was thinking about our friend Brad Lander, who, of course, is the controller, I guess you all have, in New York City, and is also a candidate for mayor. And people may not have known, because they may not have seen that Brad had gone down to the courthouse to escort someone who was going to immigration court and got assaulted and arrested. And we're sort of seeing this.
For asking if the agents had a warrant.
Right.
Let's be very clear about why he was roughed up, and why he was dragged out, and why he was arrested.
Right.
Asking if they had a warrant.
Yeah, this is sort of a pattern, right? Now we've seen Ras Baraka arrested, the mayor of Newark, who was there to inspect a facility that did not have proper permitting. He was with 2 Congress members, one of which, Congresswoman McIver, has been charged with federal charges.
Charges after she got manhandled.
Right.
And it's on video.
Right.
She was manhandled with the lawful right as a member of Congress to inspect the federal detention center, because it includes, it's in her district.
Right.
And was manhandled, and then she was charged as if she was doing the manhandling.
Right. And for doing her job.
For doing her black job.
Oversight. That's right. For doing her black job. We then had Senator Alex Padilla, same circumstances, was escorted into a conference room to ask a question of the Secretary of Homeland Security.
Who is accountable to oversight by the U.S. Senate.
Right. Right. He goes in, tries to ask his question. The people who escorted him in then turn on him, rough him up, take him to the ground, put handcuffs on him. Then we see Brad Lander the other day in New York City. We know that there have been threats of, arresting the governor of California, arresting the mayor of Los Angeles.
Sometimes for things that happened outside of Los Angeles.
Right, for things that are not even Los Angeles. They have nothing to do with Los Angeles. Right. But this feels like it's escalating.
It is escalating. Well, it is a tactic. Mm-hmm. It is intentional, and therefore it is repetitive. Yeah. And it will continue to happen. Yeah. It will continue to happen as long as the American people don't say, you have crossed that red line. Right. Yeah. That red line that, by the way, was written into our Constitution as a separation of powers. Right. Because this is, we are talking about, particularly when we're talking about a representative or a member of Congress or a sitting senator, we're talking about literal separation of powers. That's right. And then we're talking about constitutional rights when we're thinking about whether or not force is excessive, whether it was appropriately utilized, whether people who are elected to public office with powers that come with that election, governor of the state of California, a mayor of the city of Los Angeles, have the power and authority to say, we're good. Yeah. We've got local law enforcement. Right. We're fine.
We don't need all of that.
We don't need to see you usurp. Right. usurp our power. In this case, the governor's power. Right. To govern California National Guard and to determine whether or when he should deploy them.
Right. And that seems to be the case across all of it, essentially saying we that might be your job, we're not going to let you do your job. I want to talk a little bit when we come forward just about the backdrop of all of this. And you talked about the sort of constitutionality of things. I've asked you many a time, like, where in the constitutional crisis are we now? So I want to come talk a little bit.
Wait, I think we've done shredded some parts of it.
Yeah. So when we come forward, more with Maya Wiley here on KBLA Talk 1580.
You're part of the Black Pack with Adrianne Shropshire on KBLA Talk 1580.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now.
800-550-9651.
Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call
800-550-9651. That's 800-550-9651.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
At Providence, health equity is the foundation of our community health initiatives, ensuring care reaches those who need it most. Heart disease is the leading cause of death in America. African Americans face a higher risk of life-threatening issues like hypertension, the #1 cause of stroke. 55% of Black adults have high blood pressure. The good news is 80% of heart disease is preventable with healthy lifestyle changes and patient-centered care provided by the Providence Heart and Vascular Institute. From routine screenings to advanced procedures, Providence provides comprehensive care for the heart conditions that overly impact our community by ensuring patients receive treatments tailored to their needs. Let's stop the trend of being 30% more likely to die from heart-related problems. Take charge of your heart health with world-class cardiologists who deliver the compassionate care you deserve. Visit providence.org/SoCalHeart. That's providence.org/SoCalHeart to request an appointment.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
Founded in Los Angeles in 1986, litigation powerhouse Quinn Emanuel has deep roots in the Los Angeles community. Since 2007, we have litigated some of the largest fires on the West Coast. We are proud to be the only AmLaw 100 firm in the country to represent wildfire victims, giving affected individuals, families, and businesses the same focus and individualized attention we devote to our Fortune 500 clients. BTI Consulting has repeatedly recognized Quinn Emanuel as among the 4 law firms in-house counsel least likely to oppose in any litigation, and we are often deemed the most feared. And after securing over $80 billion for our clients in various matters firm-wide, we understand why. If you have been affected by the recent wildfires in Altadena and the Palisades and would like to discuss your situation further, please contact wildfire support at QuinnEmanuel.com or call us at 213-443-3050. Quinn Emanuel is proud to sponsor Conversation Live Altadena Rising with James Farr on KBLA Talk 1580.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
Let's get back to more of the Black Pack with Adrianne Shropshire right now on KBLA Talk 1580.
We are continuing our conversation with Maya Wiley, President and CEO of the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights. I always shorthand it. I always just say the Leadership Conference. And then I realize that I should be saying the whole name. So there you have it. I did.
Because we're the oldest and largest civil rights coalition that no one's ever heard of.
That's why I gotta add that civil and human rights on there.
75 years of being a civil rights coalition.
So let me ask you a little bit about just this again, like where we are. Right, like level setting, where are we right now? Because it's all very, there is this sort of the tsunami. We always talk about the tsunami every day. It's a different thing, and it's more and it's more and it's more. But we've seen a lot of erosion. We've seen a lot of...
No. Erosion can happen naturally.
Yeah, okay.
This is not erosion.
Right.
This is a taking.
Right. And we've seen pushback. Right. So I think there's both. If you can just sort of level set, what are we losing? What is at stake? And then I want to talk about the ways in which people are fighting back.
Yeah.
And
well, I mean, what we're losing is so large, but I mean, really, if we talk about what we're losing, it's a lot.
Yeah.
But we could put it in categories, right? So we're literally losing government. I mean, literally. This administration has eviscerated government, and in that by disemboweling it, literally just carving out and chopping off limbs of government, so that we have all these federal workers, 50% of whom, by the way, do not live in the Beltway, live in communities,
right. That's such a good point.
Are actually your neighbors, are part of your economy.
Right.
So this is unemployment in very high numbers, but it's also the people who were delivering services, administering programs. So, your kid gets bullied at school repeatedly. This true stories, kid with disabilities getting beaten in the head every day by bullies in the school for 6 months, parent complaining about it, nothing happening, the principal doing not a thing, files a civil rights complaint in their regional office, the neighborhood office of the Office of Civil Rights in the Department of Education for that child, gets a settlement where they have to stop that behavior. You can't do that anymore,
right? Because they're eliminating the offices of civil rights,
and that doesn't include the funding programs where no one can administer them because they've been fired. And the stuff they can't do that actually impacts your life. People are going to learn a lot more about what the federal government does for them as they lose the ability to get it. But then it's the disemboweling what we fought for. And I want to say this, because a lot of what we're losing, we fought for as a civil rights movement. We fought for more resources and dollars into public schools that are disadvantaged, called Title I. We fought for that. We fought for integration, but we actually fought to bring up the quality of schools with more resources. We're talking about fighting whether people can see a doctor when they're sick on Medicaid, right? And that's going to hit seniors of all races. That's going to hit people with disabilities of all races. It's going to hit people of color. Going to hit black people really hard. 60% of black children are on Medicaid. So, I mean, I can't go through all the programs that we're talking about. Rental assistance programs. I mean, you name it, things that help people make it through the month are getting decimated. But then if you talk about how they're doing it, it goes to the other categories. So in addition to taking away the people, taking away the money, crossing the line, first of all, because most of what they did there, they did despite the fact that it was an act of Congress that either created the program. So that's already a constitutional problem because it's a sitting president saying, I have the power to ignore how Congress told us to spend the money. Or
and I can,
to create
and I can reappropriate that money.
And I can reappropriate it and do what I like.
Right.
So, and then there's taking our data. We could go to, but you see what but of course, if you're going to do that, that use of the pen, a sitting president who thinks he can take a pen and just rewrite the laws himself through executive orders. Right. Well, that is exactly what we're seeing right now, and it includes not just how he attacked government, now it's including how he's attacking people and the stories that you're talking about and what we're seeing right here in LA, including the activism. So that's the other part of it. Mobilizing, active. People are coming out. They want something to do. They want people to tell them what they can do. And people are ready.
And this is a point. It is that people are ready. They are looking for things to do. They're activating themselves and the people around them. And we've also seen some other kinds of wins because of pushback, right? We've seen victories in the courts in particular. And I think that's, I think we all are sort of like, fingers crossed and knocking on wood, right? That the courts don't completely collapse. The courts are already, the independence of the courts are already under attack by this administration. There is nothing sacred to this administration. If it has any thwarting ability of their abuse of power, they will abuse. The number of violent threats on judges has more than doubled in the past 4 months, I've heard. Literally, U.S. Marshals are reporting this because of the rhetoric of this administration about, including, by the way, Trump-appointed judges. This isn't a situation where it's only, say, Obama or Biden or, this is a Clinton appointed judge. Trump appointed judges are going, wait, you can't do that. Reagan appointed judges are going, wait, you can't do that. Bush appointed judges are going, wait, you can't do that. So there is some bipartisanship. That is true independence of the judiciary because anyone who's paying attention to what the law says and what it requires judges to do means they're going to say, injunction. But so this both rhetorically, literally name calling, telling people, lying to people, saying judges are abusing their authority because they're telling him he can't do something or his administration, they can't abuse people. You can't break the law. You can't undermine the Constitution. You can't do those things. And so therefore.
And now, and even introducing repeatedly legislation in Congress trying to take powers away from the courts, which, by the way, Congress has the ability under the Constitution to do. The Constitution just said create the federal judiciary, create the Supreme Court, and Congress has the power to create the judiciary. That means vote. Listen, elections have consequences. You don't want some group of ideologues come and say we don't like what the courts are doing, so we're going to take away their independence.
Right. Well, I think you have that. The sort of like we're seeing wins, right, in the courts, which I think people don't totally get. There's a lot of them, right? It's not like one or two. There are like hundreds.
There have
of
literally been three, at least. I think the tracker's 300 cases filed against the administration on all kinds of things like immigration, but all kinds of violations and cutting federal grants inappropriately. Violating worker rights by firing probationary employees of the federal government, all kinds of things, right? The reality is that, yes, they're losing. They've won some. They're losing a lot. But what we have to remember is the wins are preliminary. They are not final decisions. So, and we've already also seen some reversals of some of those wins in some important cases. We've also seen the administration get a little creative, like birthright citizenship. Juneteenth, Juneteenth, y'all.
Yeah.
That was our
Right, that was
forebears
us, yeah.
got us birthright citizenship. Black people wouldn't be citizens if
Right.
it weren't for birthright citizenship.
Right.
And what we're seeing is an attack on something that is plainly in the Constitution as a right. You born here, you a homegrown.
Right. Yes,
You a
that's right.
homegrown.
Remember that term.
Remember
Yeah.
that term he used? We can come for the we're going to come for the homegrown.
They're threats.
They're
right?
threats.
They're threats to the American people.
Right. But their creativity was, I mean, because even conservative judges say it plain language of the Constitution.
Right.
That is the dogma
Right.
of a lot of the Supreme Court justice. Now they don't apply it equally. Like
Right,
sometimes
yeah.
when it doesn't suit them,
Right.
they don't pay attention to plain language of the Constitution. But this one is so plain
Yeah.
that they were expressing discomfort.
Yeah.
So
And we
this
talked about-
administration says we'll make it procedural.
Well, we talked a little bit. I was on with Tavis on Thursday, and Jesse Jackson Jr. was on. We talked a little bit about the 14th Amendment and how central it is to everything. Right? And that all the pieces, all the parts of it are under attack. The birthright citizenship is under attack. Due process, right? Rounding people up and just
Equal protection
right,
of the
equal
law.
protection that we just saw with Scrimeti, right?
Yep,
I think.
Scrimeti.
So
whether you can get your child and agree that as a parent,
right,
that your child can have hormone therapy,
right,
getting between a doctor and the parent's ability to direct care to their child because their child is trans. Right. That is an equal protection violation.
But ultimately, I mean, so there are places where we can fight, right? There are still venues in which we can throw down. The American people deciding to throw down is, I think, what is like that. And we are a government of the people, for the people, and by the people, allegedly still. And so it has been to see folks come out last Saturday. I mean,
no Kings
Day.
And
millions
and hands off.
Millions of people, right? Coming out into the streets
and all over the country.
We saw it here in LA when suddenly our streets were militarized, where you saw people say, "No, this is not right," and show up and peacefully protest. Right, there was no chaos until they arrived. But you see people showing up, and I think about for the members of the leadership conference, the organizational members that make up the leadership conference. I wonder how people are feeling about that, right? And sort of what hope that brings to the organizations who are, in so many ways are the folks who are, also sitting in a place where they're protecting our civil rights, right? It's civil rights of the folks that are saying, okay, we're going to stand up right now.
Well, first of all, I think people are feeling very committed to taking action and having it be the right kind of action. Yeah. Which means peaceful protest.
Right.
I mean, that is the history of the civil rights movement. And and there were so many organizations that helped make that happen, and so much collaboration. But big shout out to Indivisible, big shout out to so many groups that participated, and co-sponsored, and we co-sponsored. But I say this: everyone is excited and reinforced by it. Yeah. Except that what we have to explicitly confront with eyes wide open is how this administration will behave as we continue to peacefully protest. And so the fact that we know as a people, we know what it means to protest and understand that you're going to face violence. Understand that it is an act of courage and conviction. And what's so interesting is so many of the people marching don't come from that history. But at the same time, doesn't matter what history you come from, this is an administration that has been explicit about its willingness to, quote unquote, crack down. Right. I mean, you heard what Donald Trump said about his military birthday parade. Right. and what would happen if people just showed up. Right. He didn't even say anything about whether or not they misbehaved. Right.
Right.
Just showed up.
If you showed up and showed opposition.
He would crack down.
Yeah. I think there's one of the things that we've been saying often is that it's so important for people to think about what the risk is, what they feel like they're able to do in terms of that risk, and also to know that resistance doesn't just mean being out at a protest, right? There are many ways in which people can engage. When we think about the civil rights movement, we know that every single Black person was not out in the streets of the civil rights movement. There are many things that folks can do. We were talking with the folks of the Community Coalition about the mutual aid work, right? That they are trying to put together, and many organizations are trying to put together to get food to folks who can't leave, right? To get medicine, right, to folks who need medicine but can't leave their home. And so I want to thank you for coming to see me in studio.
I will always come see you in studio when I'm here.
And for the work that you all are doing and the voice, right, that you are. It's just really, I think it's inspiring, and I think it provides hope for people.
And can I say one thing we did, which I just named this to your point. Mm-hmm. We put out a pledge, and we had our members sign the pledge, but it was a pledge that we would not be silent and that we would take action. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But to your point that there are many forms of action. So it was taking action, responding by reaching out to your electeds. Right. Yep. It could be protesting. Yep. It can be giving money to organizations that need. Yep. But the point was to do something to pledge that you would, no matter how much this administration tries to make you fearful.
That's right. All right. So Maya Wiley said it here, and you heard it. Do something. Take the pledge, and just make sure you're doing something.
Civilrights.org. You can take the pledge. Be counted.
You can go to civilrights.org.
Civilrights.org.
Okay.
Take the pledge.
So if you're not planning on being at the Empowerment Congress tomorrow to hear Maya speak, please plan on being there. It will be, I think the entire day will be important and uplifting and inspiring. So I want to thank you again for coming and joining me, Miss Maya Wiley. And I will be there tomorrow to cheer you on from the audience. More when we come forward. This is KBLA Talk 1580.
More of the Black Pack with Adrianne Shropshire on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
For BIN News this hour, I'm Esther Dillard. Coming up, the Reverend Al Sharpton warns Americans history is under attack, and he has some advice for ways to protect it. But first, here's BIN News Now.
Fort Worth, Texas' annual Juneteenth celebration, known as Opal's Walk for Freedom, went on without civil rights activist Opal Lee this year due to health reasons. Her granddaughter, Deion Sims, led the 2.5-mile walk.
If people have been taught to hate, they can be taught to love.
Opal's Walk symbolizes the 2.5 years it took for news of the Emancipation Proclamation to reach Texas in 1865. A Chicago federal judge has denied R. Kelly's request to serve his sentence under home detention. His legal team claimed his life was in danger, alleging prison staff conspired with inmates to harm him. Kelly is currently serving a 30-year sentence for racketeering and sex trafficking. And Black Rep Jasmine Crockett calls Trump supporters mentally ill for backing him despite his actions. She slammed his Juneteenth remarks and use of troops during protest, accusing him of trying to erase Black history. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt defended Trump supporters as hardworking patriots and invited Crockett to attend a rally. I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Back to you, Esther.
Thanks, Amber. This past Juneteenth holiday was a day of reflection for the Reverend Al Sharpton. The civil rights activist told MSNBC's Morning Joe, although the holiday was a reminder of the dark history of slavery in this country and the day many enslaved Americans in Texas found out they were free, this year, the holiday is a reminder that Black history is under attack.
So all of this is American history, and certainly history for African Americans, at a time that history is being challenged to be taught in certain schools under this administration, and other some states are trying to eliminate this. And I don't think that it is healthy, not only for those of us that are the ones that have ancestors that were enslaved. It's not healthy for the country to show the progress this country made in fighting slavery, of instituting the Emancipation Proclamation. It should be a way of us saying that we should continue to grow together rather than to try to eliminate the story from being told.
He added he was also personally affected by this year's marking of the 10-year anniversary of the mass shooting of 9 black people inside a church in Charleston, South Carolina. 6 women and 3 men were killed June 17, 2015, while attending a Bible study at Emmanuel AME Church.
We saw the country start dealing with race, then again with George Floyd. But now we're seeing the setback. We're seeing the backlash. And I think that if we understand our history, we know it's always going to be 1 or 2 steps forward, 1 backward. We've got to keep going, and we have to do it together.
Meanwhile, millions of people across the country are dealing with severe weather. That's the sound of golf ball-sized hail falling in Dublin, Texas, shared by the Weather Channel on YouTube. While thunderstorms, heavy rains, and wicked winds pummeled several cities across the East Coast. Today in New York, a teenager is recovering after being struck by lightning while sheltering from rain under a tree in Central Park yesterday. And now, forecasters say brace for the heat.
I know New Yorkers are tough. We like to think we're really tough. But this is not your run-of-the-mill hot summer week. It's truly not.
That's New York Governor Kathy Hochul, who says temperatures will intensify Sunday with feel-like temperatures reaching up to or above 100 degrees through Thursday. A heat dome is bringing extreme heat and humidity to more than 200 million Americans. Extreme heat watches, warnings, and advisories are already in effect for parts of the Southwest, Rockies, Plains, Upper Midwest, and Northeast. And finally, it's a historic week for 70 seniors from John Muir High School in Pasadena, California. You see, it was just a few months ago. Wildfires ripped through their neighborhood, making many of these high schoolers and their families homeless. But ESPN reports these seniors from the Black Legacy neighborhood of Altadena graduated with pride inside Pasadena's historic Civic Auditorium. Stay informed, stay connected, and subscribe. Follow BIN News this hour wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Esther Dillard for the Black Information Network.
It's a tough drive in Commerce. This is along the 5 freeway, making your way southbound at Slauson. A wreck in Middle Lane sends you back overall out of Burbank, leaving Alameda. It's tough in Mission Hills. So on the 405 northbound before the 5, the 3 right lanes are blocked. That's a wreck involving a motorcycle. Big delays away from San Fernando Mission Boulevard. And let's also head out to Santa Monica, East 10, jamming up from about Cloverfield. Delays all the way to La Brea, but very dense and slow between La Cienega and La Brea. In fact, the surface streets right in that area are jam-packed as well.
Do you really know what's in your tap water? We believe your water should support your health, not work against it. Upgrade your home with a LifeSource Whole House system. Clean water from every tap, no salt, no hassle. Call 1-800-WATER-99 or visit lifesourcewater.com.
Warranty limitations apply.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The NBA Finals will have a Game 7 for the first time in 9 years. Either the Indiana Pacers or Oklahoma City Thunder will win their first NBA championship in franchise history. The last time the NBA Finals went to a Game 7 was in 2016 when LeBron led Cleveland past Golden State to win the title. Game 7 is Sunday in OKC, 5 p.m. tip-off on ABC. A very interesting HBCU football game is generating a lot of buzz in Philadelphia. Norfolk State and Delaware State are meeting up on Thursday, October 30th at Lincoln Financial Field, home of the NFL Eagles. Both teams have popular former NFL players entering their first season as a college head coach. Former quarterback Michael Vick is at Norfolk State. Former wide receiver Deshaun Jackson is at Delaware State. Vick and Jackson played for the Eagles. Alumni interested in going to the game can get tickets at Ticketmaster.com. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
JP Morgan Chase offers tips for the local business owners in 2025. Small business landscape is ever changing, and the Los Angeles market is no exception. A startup or legacy business, revisiting your mission statement and recalibrating offerings can renew opportunities for growth and innovations. Programs like Chase for Business Coaching for Impact gives entrepreneurs access to expert guidance, helping you streamline operations, strategize your growth, and navigate complex challenges. Businesses with a clear sense of purpose can navigate any challenge effectively, but also build stronger customer loyalty. Visit chase.com/coaching for impact for more information. This segment is sponsored by JP Morgan Chase.
inside the Black Pack with Adrianne Shropshire on KBLA Talk 1580.
I am so glad and happy and excited to be bringing in our friend Madiba Denny, who's the deputy editor and senior contributor of the digital publication Balls and Strikes, and also the author of The Originalism Trap: How Extremists Stole the Constitution and How We, the People, Can Take It Back. Madiba, I was just talking with Maya Wiley about all things, and then when she was on her way out, I said, we're about to talk about the SCOTUS decisions. And so you are, of course, when there's a Supreme Court decision coming or that has happened, I always want to talk to you and try to make sure that we understand what the Supreme Court is doing, what kinds of decisions that they are making. And particularly, I know that you and I talked last time about this case that they just decided on 2 days ago. Was it yesterday? When did
day before yesterday.
Day before yesterday. This, and I think I probably pronounced it wrong, but it was the Scrimeti case. That was a case that was about. You sort of brought this to my. I think I asked you the last time you were on. I was like, "What is coming up, and what should we be looking for?"
Yeah.
And you actually raised this case, and so I wanted to get you to sort of tell us what it's such a critical case because it goes back to all the things that we have been talking about the 14th Amendment and it being eroded or sort of undermined at every turn. But if you could give us just some context for this case, what it was and what its impact will be.
Sure thing. And, it's a pleasure to be back. I remain hopeful that one of these days I'm going to have a positive case to talk with you about instead of all these nightmares that the Supreme Court keeps handing down.
That day is coming. That day is coming. I have no doubt.
So what's at issue in Scrimeti is a law that Tennessee's legislature passed in 2023 that bans gender-affirming care for trans kids. Like it would be the case otherwise, that folks might be able to access hormone therapy or puberty blockers so that it prevents them from having to go through the sort of physical changes associated with the gender that they just don't identify with. And there's a lot of data showing how bad it is when kids don't have access to that. Right. Just looking at the particular plaintiffs in this case, there's some really heart-wrenching stories. There is this kid whose, their voice started to change when they were going through puberty, and it made them so uncomfortable they just stopped talking in public. And they would they throw up if they had to speak in class. So just things that, it would be great if they and their doctor could treat this. Right. But Tennessee said no. Tennessee said they banned puberty blockers and hormones, but most specifically, this is the really important part, they didn't categorically block them. They didn't block them for everyone. Kids who want or need hormones for other reasons can access them. Right. But if you're a trans kid, if you're a kid who, as the law puts it, if you're trying to live in a way that's inconsistent with your sex, if you're trying to alleviate discomfort between your sex and your asserted identity, that's how the law describes it, then you can't have it. Right. If that's the case, then the doctor gets hit with a $25,000 civil penalty. So it basically, is just trying to, making it too expensive for these doctors to actually treat their patients. Right. And this is obviously discriminatory, on its face.
Well, so this is the thing that is, and so there is, the heart-wrenching stories like you just said, right, about kids who are really struggling through this, on top of the fact that the Trump administration said that they were going to take away the LGBTQ suicide hotline funding. Right. So you have this case, then you have them saying, and if you're feeling like you're struggling, you will have no one to call and talk to. Right. But it is discrimination. And so this is the part to me that I guess is that is the crux of this. It is essentially allowing discrimination, or at least saying, again, this idea that there isn't equal protection for certain classes of people. Or that's how I read it, and I'm not a lawyer, so I'm hoping that you'll help me make sense of.
I got you. So, yeah, I was interested and horrified by how the majority, in the opinion, really tried to act as if there was no equal protection problem here at all. Like they characterized that the equal protection clause wasn't even relevant to the issue. Even though the law literally, like, it expressly mentions sex, it says, like, if it's inconsistent with the minor's sex, then they can't do this. The operation of the law depends on sex, and the 14th Amendment applies to sex discrimination, among a bunch of other sorts of discrimination. So it seems wildly implausible. It's like, how can you say this isn't sex discrimination? It's right there in the statute. Right. But according to Chief Justice John Roberts, that's not the relevant classification. John Roberts says it's not a sex discrimination. The things it depends on are that it, like, prevents minors from accessing a medical treatment. So he's like, neither of those are sex. He's like, it's about kids and it's about medical treatment. And, states have broad powers to regulate, like, medicine. So he tries to say, this is just medicine, no big deal. We don't need to use one of our, like, heightened levels of scrutiny that we might do under the Equal Protection Clause for when it's like there's some discrimination, there's some funny business happening. Mm-hmm. He's saying we don't got to do that here because this isn't about discrimination. It's about kids and medicine, and that's fine. States can regulate those things. They've been regulating those all the time. And it's so disingenuous.
It's sort of like twisting themselves in knots or to try to get around having to apply the scrutiny of equal protection.
And one of the things that's so grim about that, one of the things that I certainly was worried about when we spoke about this case last time, and that Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson explicitly mentioned during the oral argument because she clocked it as well. Mm-hmm. She was like, "Hang on a second. The way you're making this argument, it's the exact same way they made their argument back in Loving versus Virginia, mm-hmm. The case that was about banning interracial marriages, mm-hmm. Because the argument they made there, just as in this case, where the court and where Tennessee are saying, oh, it's not about discrimination. No kid can get puberty blockers for those reasons. And any kid can get puberty blockers for any other reason. And it's like, this is just like when they were saying, oh, nobody can marry outside of their race. And like anyone can marry someone of the same race. Therefore, it's not discrimination because it applies equally. Right. And so it's like, okay, if we just pretend that like no context exists, then yeah. So it's this overly formalistic ways they don't have to grapple with the reality of the harm they're deliberately inflicting.
Yeah, and I think that's the so like trying to come up, and I was saying earlier in the show that I feel like every time I'm on one of my social media apps that I feel like I'm living in an AI simulation, because it's just the sort of like reality is distorted, right? And mm-hmm. this to me feels mm-hmm. like the same thing. Like the Supreme Court in this case also feels very much like reality is distorted. That this idea that it's not discrimination. Even though we can all plainly see that it is, right? Like it's to your point that it's in the statute, right? Like it's
in the statute. It's right there.
Right. Well, I want to. The Supreme Court is making all kinds of decisions, and has this week alone. They still have more decisions to go before the end of this month, right? So I think it's the end of June. Mm-hmm. And so I want to, when we come forward, I want you to tell me. And this is to your earlier, like maybe there'll be a good case that we can talk about at some point, but now that's not the case. And so when we come forward, I want you to tell me what other horrors we have to look forward to in the decisions that they have remaining. So stay with us to find out what the Supreme Court is going to do next week. When we come forward, Madiba Denny is going to help us understand what we need to brace ourselves for. Stay with us. This is KBLA Talk 1580.
You're part of the Black Pack with Adrianne Shropshire on KBLA Talk 1580.
Open enrollment is your opportunity to choose a plan that connects you to Providence's comprehensive healthcare network. Choose a plan that includes Providence and gain access to a dedicated team of highly trained primary care physicians and specialists. From nationally recognized doctors and hospitals, Providence ensures quality care is always within reach. When you choose Providence, you choose after-hours care through our nurse advice line, urgent care, or virtual express care. You choose 24/7 access through the Providence mobile app to message providers, request prescription refills, schedule appointments, check lab results, and more. This open enrollment, prioritize your well-being with the peace of mind that comes from choosing a provider that values excellence and compassionate care. Don't just choose a plan. Choose a plan dedicated to health equity and community engagement. Choose a plan that believes health is a human right. Choose a plan that delivers exceptional care and cares about your community. Choose a plan that offers Providence. Visit chooseprovidence.org to learn more.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
Nearly 7 million Americans aged 65 and older are living with Alzheimer's disease, also known as AD, a type of dementia that affects memory, thinking, and behavior, making everyday tasks challenging. But did you know that Black adults aged 65 and older are twice as likely as white adults to develop AD? There are things you can do to help reduce your risk for developing AD. Managing conditions like diabetes and high blood pressure is crucial. Staying physically active, maintaining social connections, eating a healthy diet, and keeping your mind engaged with activities like reading or puzzles can all contribute to brain health. It's also important to recognize some common signs and symptoms of early AD, such as forgetfulness that causes problems with everyday life, asking the same question a few times in a row, and difficulty concentrating on basic tasks. If you see these signs in yourself or a loved one, don't wait. Early diagnosis and intervention are key to managing AD effectively. To learn more about AD and a potential treatment option, visit treatalzearly.com. That's treatalzearly.com. This message is brought to you by AZI.
Let's get back to more of the Black Pack with Adrianne Shropshire right now on KBLA Talk 1580.
We are wrapping up our discussion with Madiba Denny, Deputy Editor and Senior Contributor of the digital publication Balls and Strikes. Madiba, there were a couple of other decisions that came out this week as well, or maybe not a couple. There was I feel like there was 6 2 days ago or something. But will you just give me a quick top line for you of what the other important cases were that were decided that maybe people should know about, other than Scrimeti?
Yeah, well, I think some of the biggest cases for issues that I think most affect the general public are actually still to come. Yeah. I think we've seen a lot of almost like they're clearing the underbrush. They're gearing up for the big ones. Right. Because that I'm still waiting on a couple. And so I say that on the one counter to that I would point out is that I think so many cases these days are sort of not really going through the normal process. Mm-hmm. There are cases where the Trump administration files an emergency appeal, and the court takes it up right away. So usually it's the end of June is when all the worst things happen. But there have also been, moments of madness happening throughout the year whenever they just take up one of Trump's wacky appeals. Right. But there are a couple things that I am really, that I eagerly wait for
Yeah.
to see how this is going to go. And I think probably the most significant one for me is Trump v. Casa, which is the case about birthright citizenship.
Yes, please talk about that, because that's one of the, I mean, obviously we're all on kind of pins and needles waiting on that decision as we continue to talk about birthright citizenship and Trump's years long now, right? Vendetta or something against the 14th Amendment.
Yeah. It's like the whole, like all the 14th Amendment contains a lot, and it does feel like all of it's under attack, whether it's equal protection, whether it's birthright citizenship. There's this wide-ranging effort to undermine the most important parts of the Constitution, I would say, the Reconstruction Amendments, since these are the amendments ratified in the wake of the Civil War that actually, for the first time, tried to constitutionalize a multiracial democracy. Like these are the things that made America try to actually be what it says it is.
Right.
And a core part of that was the constitutionalization of birthright citizenship. Because before that, enslaved Black people in America had no rights as a citizen, had no rights as people. Right. And so this was like actually recognizing if you are born here, like you are a citizen. They can't just take that away from you. You don't have some sort of like weird, like lack of legal status without rights available to you. Like you have a citizen, and then you can claim rights as a citizen as well. Right. But this is again enshrined into the Constitution. Trump, though, thinks that he can undo all of that by himself. Right. He made this like executive order saying we're not recognizing birthright citizenship anymore. You only if you are born in this country and also like this, that, and the other conditions that are you a citizen. Yes. And because it's so plainly illegal, lots of judges,
like, as are many things that he does. Yeah.
Yeah. And there were no qualms about this one. I thought it was kind of funny because it was like judges who perhaps showing like my own biases here, like judges who I wouldn't have necessarily expected to have such a good decision. Because I was like, oh, this is like a 70-year-old judge appointed by Ronald Reagan, who like I probably wouldn't have expected much of. And this judge is like, this is the most illegal thing I've seen in my life. So it's like, okay, none of these judges are here for this. Right. And so they issued these nationwide injunctions, basically saying you can't enforce this at all anywhere. Just that's done. Yeah. And so Trump administration was being really sort of sneaky and like roundabout way going about it because they didn't appeal the substance. Probably because they know they would keep losing because they've been losing repeatedly since it's so egregious. They appealed it on a procedural ground, saying that the judges don't have the authority to issue nationwide injunctions. Right. They're saying, at most, because they're still sort of contesting it, but they're saying at most the judge can tell the Trump administration that they can't enforce the unconstitutional order against the particular plaintiffs, but they should still be allowed to enforce it to everybody else. And if that were adopted, it would mean a couple. Because it would immediately throw the rest of all babies born in the country would denationalize them. Basically, it would allow Trump to move forward with an order that everyone recognizes unconstitutional, but it would still let him apply it. It would make citizenship depend for the first time since the Civil War era on state lines. Just like where within the country it could shift depending on these arbitrary borders, and again it's clearly racially targeted. It's like clearly it's like it's not people who look like Trump. Right. Who they're not the reason why they're saying no more birthright citizenship. Right. It's trying to enforce their idea.
You're saying orange people. It doesn't apply to orange people.
Precisely. Yeah. They're trying to enforce this idea of like who they think the nation actually belongs to, right. Who actually gets to call themselves American.
And we will tell you whether or not. Right. Yeah.
Like the Constitution says, are you born here? If you're born in America, okay, congrats, you're American. Right. With like very limited exceptions. Yeah. There's an exception if you are like basically like a foreign like minister. Mm-hmm. Like if you are here like representing another country, right. And you like give birth and like obviously you are not living here.
Yeah. I mean, but this is the thing that's so scary. And I think that this is what we talk all the time, particularly about, when we hear, see on social media, this sort of propaganda that, these are not Black people's issues and we shouldn't fight these things. This is one of the things that ought to make every Black person whose ancestors got American citizenship because of the birthright citizenship clause of the 14th Amendment should make the hair on the backs of our necks stand up, because this is certainly directly about us. And so I really appreciate you. You're always so helpful in like explaining these things and telling us what to look out for. And I think that this is what I really want people to pay attention next week. Yeah, because this is a big one, and it's really important. And again, the sort of backdoor sneaky way that Trump has tried to do it. So thank you so much, Madiba, for coming on and sort of talking to us about Scrimeti, which is terrible and undermines the 14th Amendment, and this other case that could also really do serious damage to birthright citizenship and thereby continuing to undermine the 14th Amendment. So thanks for always doing that. I'm going to have you back, though, because because either way this goes, it has real implications. So would love to talk about that some more as well. This is KBLA Talk 1580. You're listening to the Black Pack. I appreciate you all being here on a Friday. We will be back next Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. Have a great extra days of Juneteenth. We will see you next Friday.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. A federal appeals court sided with the Trump administration, allowing 4,000 National Guard troops to remain in Los Angeles during immigration protests. Black Mayor Karen Bass questioned its necessity.
Why do you have these young people here who have to miss work, miss school, leave their families?
Governor Gavin Newsom recently sued to stop the deployment. Reverend Al Sharpton says wealthy, well-known Black men like